Good evening, my people. This is Wywana Montgomery, and you are here for another edition of Monday Night Chats for Moms and Mentors of Teen Girls. Keeping it rolling right along, as I stated before, April is National Financial Literacy Month. So I've been very intentional about sharing some financial education information that you can share with and practice alongside the teen girls in your life. So let me get the commercials out of the way. Before we roll with it, again, this is Wywana Montgomery, the personality behind Wywana Speaks. I am also the author of the two-time award-winning book, Bold, Brave, and Courageous, a no-fear success guide for teen girls. From this book is a truly transformational teen girl mindset program. I call it Living the No-Fear Life. And if you run your own organization, you are otherwise serving teen girls, you definitely want to check into it, because she needs to know how to live the no-fear life and have her mind right to receive whatever else it is that your program is instilling in her. No fear stands for never let anyone tell you what you cannot do. Open your mind to the possibility of your greatness. Fight for what you want. Expose yourself to new things and act on opportunities to launch yourself and reach forward. So I'm excited to share another edition. I'm wearing a t-shirt right now. I'm going to slide back so you can see it. It says, this is not my brand, but I went to a cool event and thought this was a great shirt to purchase to remind myself. It says, budget carefully, pay off debts, give plenty, spend wisely, and live abundantly. So if you teach your teen girl what I'm about to share with you, she will be able to do the same. And quiet is kept, moms and mentors, some of y'all need this same advice. So just to give a quick summary on where we left off last week. Last week, we talked about how to teach her the difference between needs versus wants. So we left off making it clear that needs are, and some of y'all may have studied this in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Needs are food, water, air, shelter, clothing. When we get to the bare bones of it all, those are needs. Then we get to things that might be kind of nice to haves in life. For example, a cell phone is a nice to have, but parents, you need to step back and take a look at her having the latest and greatest iPhone is not a need. What you might want to do is communicate with her, but it doesn't have to mean that she needs the latest and greatest, most expensive phone. So I just wanted to give you guys a little summary of where we left off last time. We were talking about how to teach teen girls the difference between needs and wants, and make sure you're not modeling behavior that's a little bit confusing, where they're not quite sure because of how you spend and utilize money as well. So I'm going to follow a model. Get your pad and pen out, or get your phone out, however you prefer to take notes. Shout out to Kawana. You know what? I always want to call her Kawana David. That's her husband's name, Kawana Thomas. They have a shared Facebook page. So shout out to Kawana Thomas and her group that may be on here listening. I'm going to give you guys 3 pointers to make her a money manager instead of a shopaholic. That's tonight's topic. And then I'm going to give you some suggestions of 4 things that you can do to help her become so basic tools that exist, actual tools that exist to help her become a money manager. Feel free to post your questions, have her listen with you, and here we go. We're going to roll with it. So the first point that I want to share as far as helping her become a money manager instead of a shopaholic, model proper behavior before her. Let me say that again, moms and mentors. Model proper behavior before her. So for example, let her see you budget. So one thing I've shown my daughter, and in case this is your first time tuning in, I'm not only the director of a youth mentorship program for middle and high school young ladies and young men, but I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old niece who are almost twins because they are only 4 months apart. So one thing I've done is shared with them my process. So I'll just give an example. A simple process I follow on paydays or whatever, because that tends to be the date where you pay the majority of your bills. We might not carry the old-fashioned check register anymore, but there's still a way to track your spending and plan your spending, and you need to do so. So what I'll do is type in the notes section of my phone how much I have in that moment. And then I have a bills account, which is separate. So all the bills that repeat every month, so credit cards, the water and trash, the electric bill, the gas bill, and then, yeah, those are the main ones I put in there. So the certain ones that repeat, I've already estimated the average, and that's a totally separate account. So I don't have to get confused about if I'm spending money and accidentally dipping into the bills account. So the good news is some of the bills that had initially been budgeted for that were terminal, not repeating, it was like a revolving credit line, has been paid off. But I kept that in there because I can use it in case the utilities fluctuate up, which they have here locally. So I've shown my girls, hey, I put the amount that I start off with in my phone, and then I subtract what is got to be paid for in the bills account so I know what's left over. And then I also do that in what is the play money account. So the regular checking account that exists outside of the bills account. Anything that I foresee, like I know I pay my tithes out of that. I pay a medical bill out of that. Even if the bill is not due until like a week later or 3 or 4 days later, you still need to subtract that. And so I subtracted in my notes. So I'm only spending based on what the final balance is going to be. I'm not confused, I'm not overdrafting, and I'm not messing up because I didn't account for it up front. Even if it hasn't come out yet, you know it's going to come out. So I've shown my girls that simple tool. So model budgeting for them. Let them see your process. Maybe you do it handwritten instead. Maybe you keep a spreadsheet. Whatever that is, if you share that with her, you are helping her become a money manager as well, no matter how old she is. The other thing is, say there's an important budgetary decision that you need to make individually or as a family. Ask her for her feedback. You know, she might be 13, 14, 16, 18, and she doesn't have an answer, but at least you know where her head is if you ask her for her feedback. And then if her feedback applies, man, you might have a great idea from your teenage daughter. You didn't even know she had that knowledge. Or you can kind of coach her and mentor her through that if it's not a solid answer. It could be simply because she doesn't understand how budgeting works or how your expenses work. But ask for her feedback. Let her weigh in. So a simple example there, maybe you all are budgeting for an upcoming family reunion or some other vacation or some other major expense that you need from the home. Ask your teen girls for ideas on how to save for that and get prepared. You never know. Their minds are like this. They think in levels that we don't even think because we're older and they're exposed to different things. So you never know what you might learn. And again, it's great. You're including her in the process, which means you are modeling it for her how to manage her money. Okay? So that first tip is model proper behavior, proper financial behavior for her. That second tip, require her to plan how she's going to spend and save her money when she gets it. So maybe you give her an allowance on a regular basis. Maybe she's like my two girls who have part-time jobs. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. They're only 14 years old, and in the state of Oklahoma, you can work a part-time job. I'm so grateful for that. So require her to plan how she's going to spend and save her money when she gets it. That also stops her from just being an impulsive shopaholic. So for example, my daughter just got off from work. So I just asked her if she felt like joining me or is she tired? Now she's like, well, what do you want me to do? I said, well, let me see if I taught you well. I said, if you were telling the people, what do you plan to do with your first paycheck? Yes, Kawana says, yes, you will be surprised at the ideas they come up with. Yes. So I asked my 14-year-old daughter, and by the way, she won't be 15 until August. So she is a young freshman and everything else. And so I asked her, I said, what do you plan to do with your first paycheck? Because this is her third week of employment. So probably this coming Friday will be her first paycheck. At first, she gave me a sarcastic answer because I knew it wasn't the truth. She's like, I'm going to spend all my money on clothes. I knew that was not the answer because I know I've taught her better than that. So I said, okay, now give me your real answer. She goes, well, I'm going to first give some money to God. Now, we are people of faith, so we pay our tithes. She said, I'm going to give my money to God. I reminded her it's 10%. She said, then I'll decide on what's most important. She wants to buy some new clothes because school just became in person. So she may want to buy some things for school. And she also told me on Sunday, she said, Mom, it seems like I don't have enough church clothes anymore. That's because my 14-year-old is 5'11" and wears a size 12 women's shoe. And she's a total brick house. So things that used to be dresses for her are now shirts, and we have to wear them with leggings. So I agree with her that in the midst of her clothing shopping, buying some new things that are appropriate and fit her properly are just fine for church. And so, yes, so requiring her to come up with a plan. If you sit down with your teenage girl and actually ask her how she plans to be spending her money, what she's going to save for, you can then help her begin to think and prioritize on the spot. You don't just, like my girls, get a pay card. You know, nowadays nobody has to wait to cash a paper check. At least when you had a paper check, there was a little bit of time delay between when the money was in your hand and when you can spend it. Now it's all instant. They get a pay card that's even separate from any bank account they might have. So you don't want to just run her straight to the mall without a plan, because that leads to impulse. That leads to just running it up, as some of the young people call it, because they're excited that they have money. And then she turns around and it's all gone. And I asked my daughter, I said, why is it important to prioritize what you spend? And she said, these are her words, a 14-year-old. She said, because you don't know what may happen down the line. And I'll give you an example. There are times when she and my niece have both had money. They spent all their money, and then all of a sudden, before, halfway in between, before there's a new paycheck, or in my daughter's case, who wasn't working, before she was going to have another babysitting job, all of a sudden a friend from school is having a birthday party, and it's a skating party. And guess what? Once you get past about the age of 10, most parents are not paying for the party guests to do whatever the activity is. Your daughter's going to be invited, and she's going to have to foot the bill. Well, if she doesn't have any money and she wants to go, she's asking you to foot the bill. So I've told mine, hey, save, because you don't know who might all of a sudden be having a birthday party and you need $10 to skate, or all of a sudden you want to go to dinner with somebody at Applebee's and you want that 2 for $20 or whatever it is, and you don't have any money. We might decide to do something cool and fun as a family, and you might need to have your own money. So those are things that if you sit down with her and require her to create a plan for what she's going to spend and what she's going to save. Budgeting, let me help y'all here. Budgeting is not this negative thing that's all about, well, you can't buy this and you can't do that. It's creating a plan so that you are prepared and your money can stretch a little bit. Even a teenager working a part-time job, there's no reason why her money shouldn't be able to last her for 2 weeks. What is she spending it on? Most of them aren't paying any bills. They live at your house. You're the one who pays the rent. Most of y'all are paying their cell phone bill 100%. You're the one buying the food for them to pack a lunch for school, or you're giving them lunch money to buy lunch at school. So why in the world can their money not last? That doesn't make any sense. They ought to at least have $10 or $20 left when they have the next paycheck. They don't have enough financial responsibility to have absolutely nothing left. Unless they're doing what? Door dashing every day, spending too much money at the mall, online shopping like crazy. There is no excuse for a teenager's paycheck not to be able to last in 2 weeks. Even their chores, if you're giving them an allowance, why can't it last? What are they doing? They don't have the responsibility that you do, unless you're one that's giving them responsibility. So I don't want to beat that to death, but require her to plan how she's going to both save and spend. So you sit down and talk to her. I think I talked about it a little bit, but have her give some to charity. And if tithing is part of your faith, if you're a person of faith, teach her about that and what that's about and what that's for. My son is away at college, and he still sends his tithes in through our church app, and he's seen the blessing from it. As far as charities, you can find something they're interested in. My daughter is interested in teaching kids with special needs. And so ever since the 2nd grade, she has volunteered with children in her school who had special needs, being their buddy to take them to specials. One year she had a buddy who she even had to hand feed at lunch. She's been a junior coach for Special Olympics and helped the athletes at their big meet out in Stillwater here in Oklahoma. So because she has a heart for children with special needs, my daughter, at 10 years old, when the little flyer came in the mail and I showed it to her, she decided to start donating to St. Jude Children's Hospital. When she was 10, she literally put her little dollar bills and some quarters in there. We taped it up really good so it wouldn't bust open on the way there. So now, because she was a donor way back at 10 years old, every year they send her a little solicitation letter. And she always makes sure that she has something to give. You can help your daughter not be selfish by finding a charity that means something to her. Find something that means something to her in addition to her tithes or whatever you do. The other thing about requiring her to create a spending plan, here's an easy one. Is she bugging you to death for a high ticket item? If your daughter wants a PlayStation 5, if she wants the latest iPhone, I don't even know what number they're up to now because I don't own an iPhone. I'm on Android, and I don't really care as long as it works and does what I need it to do. I keep mine until they force me to get an update, essentially. So if she wants the latest iPhone, if she wants a PlayStation 5, if she wants some designer handbag, if she's 16 and you're preparing to get her a car, maybe you should help her save part of the money. So that's another way to teach her to come up with the savings plan. If there's some high dollar item that she wants, you can decide, do you want her to save for 100% of the cost? If it's too expensive and you really don't feel like she has the funds to save 100%, maybe you agree to meet her halfway, 50-50. If you save half of it, we'll give you the other half. Or maybe if you save 40%, we'll give you 60%. But that's teaching her to create a plan and stick to it. And again, it takes away the impulse because she's not going to waste her money on the bunch of small trinkets and fast food if there's this high dollar item that she really wants and she knows that she can't get it without putting part of her money towards it. Kawana says, right, start matching their savings to encourage them to save. Yes, I have a friend who she doesn't match her grandchildren at 100%, but she adds 10%. So if they save $100, she gives them an extra 10. If they save $300, she gives them 30. So you can find some way to match them to encourage them. And again, here's another thing that's not even really a part of the topic, but I guarantee you, if you make her save the money for even a portion of that item, she's going to appreciate it way more. She's going to walk around with that thing like it's a newborn baby. It's not going to be broke. She's not going to be spilling Kool-Aid on it. She's barely going to let anybody else touch it because she spent her money on it. Trust and believe. There's more that they learn than just the financial value. They learn to value the worth of it in general. And they're way more careful when it's their own. Okay? We had our niece save 100% of her ticket money to go home to Seattle to visit her mom and her brother. That was very important to her. So my gift to her was getting the more expensive hairdo that she wanted. And then we made sure she had enough spending money. Right? Okay. So the first tip to help make sure she's a money manager and not a shopaholic is to model proper financial behavior for her. Number 2, require her to plan how she's going to both spend and save when she gets money instead of just taking her straight to the shopping mall or wherever, having her jump online, spending willy-nilly. The third point, teach her how to comparison shop. That is super important. Just because you only know of one store and you always go to that one store, that doesn't mean that that store is the best deal all the time. Matter of fact, if you shop online, there is a little app, I'm trying to think. There's one called Honey, and there's some other, whole bunch of others out there. I stumbled into them. You can literally be on any store's website. It could be Amazon or it could be Macy's or JCPenney. And when you click on that sweatshirt that you want, that app automatically tells me, well, this same sweatshirt is at such and such store and it's $5 less. And it will have the link for me to go straight to that other store if that's a better deal. Or we found it at 3 other places, but this is the cheapest price. You are getting the best deal. Honey not only does that, but also runs through coupons. Teach them to comparison shop. Okay, maybe some of y'all don't know how to do that yourself, so let me help you out real quick. Last December, I decided that both of my girls needed winter coats. So there are 3 main places I often look for things like that. JCPenney's, New York and Company, and Macy's. So I went online. I knew the type of coat I wanted for them. I wanted it to be considered a little bit on the heavier side for winter, because Oklahoma winter, especially with the wind, can be crazy. But I knew they didn't want them to be super puffy. So I'm looking for the lightweight jacket that has the technology to make it warm without being bulky. Yes, coats have technology these days. And so looking at the style, I made sure I was looking at the same style on all three websites, and I was able to find the best price at JCPenney's. But I made sure to look at all three of those places. And even if you go to a website and it's out of stock, most of the store sites have where you can tell them to let you know when it's back in stock. And if you want to wait until it comes back, you can then see if the price has gone down and things like that. So I watched and compared for a couple weeks and ended up finding the best purchase price was JCPenney's. You can teach her to comparison shop as well. That way she's getting the most bang for her buck. Another way, maybe she's not shopping online. If she's shopping in person, okay, if you've just walked into the mall, whether it be an outlet mall or a regular mall, she doesn't have to buy it at the very first store she walks into. If there's similar stores that carry the similar item and they're all in the mall, encourage her to make note of that thing that she really likes that she saw in the first store, and go ahead and take a little bit of extra time to go visit the other one or two. Because the same item or something very similar, or quite frankly, something she likes even more, might be cheaper. It is okay to have a little bit of delayed gratification. She'll be so excited if she winds up saving $20. Now there's enough money to even eat at the food court. Hey, encourage her to do that. And here's a funny example I'll give. My daughter and I ended up comparison shopping one day by accident. We went to a store that's already a discount store. There's a store in Oklahoma City, and by the way, nobody is paying me to give you their name. I'm just giving you real life examples of what I do. There's a store here that's called Dee Dee's Discounts. And the reason why it's a discount store, it is the outlet for Ross and TJ Maxx, and I believe even Marshall's, because if you didn't know it, all of those are part of the same parent company. We're going to look around one day, and one company is going to own every single retail store the way it's going. So we went in Dee Dee's. Oh, we went in there because she needed some new jeans. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go in there and, buy her one pair, maybe two, if there's a good deal. Yes, Kawana says that also teaches patience and to think before you buy. Absolutely. I'm going to share another thing related to that, thinking before you buy. So we go in Dee Dee's. We want to get a pair of jeans. And all of a sudden, she's like, oh my gosh, Mom, I have to use the bathroom so bad. So we're in there. We ask if she can use the restroom. And apparently this store had so much trouble with people shoplifting until they decided that the public could not have access to the store. And so because she couldn't use the restroom in Dee Dee's, we ended up going down the strip mall a little bit into the Goodwill to use the restroom. And what's so funny is on our way back from the restroom, I said, you know what? Let's just check, because you never know what you might find in a Goodwill. And for any of you who are on here with your nose in the air, let me explain something to you. There is nothing wrong with a thrift store. They accept clean donations, and all you do is wash it again. Quite frankly, I've found some disgusting apparel that didn't smell good in quote unquote brand new retail store because of who probably tried it on before I picked it up. So, and I've also worked with actual millionaires, and they thrift. Newsflash, that's how wealthy people stay wealthy. They thrift, and that's where people look for vintage clothing and unique things. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It is not a sign of poverty. Maybe you are thrifting because you don't have a lot, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I grew up on both. My kids don't care. We do both. We do regular shopping, outlet, online. It doesn't matter. So anyway, remember we left Dee Dee's to use the restroom in the Goodwill. And we just decided on the way out, maybe we should just stop and look at this rack because we don't know what they might have. That might be a good deal. Now, here's the thing. This was accidental comparison shopping. We thought we were only going to buy one pair of jeans in Dee Dee's, and we ended up walking down the jeans aisle in the Goodwill, and they ended up having a pair of Banana Republic jeans. If you don't know, that is a pretty decent. That's not a super high-end store, but it's not cheap either. It's not cheap. I'm from the West Coast, Seattle. It's everywhere there. Banana Republic is up there with the Gap. In fact, I just found out that the Gap and Banana Republic are the same company. She walked out of there with a pair of Banana Republic jeans, I think a pair of Gap, And I even think a pair of Guess. Guess what? All 3 pairs of jeans, great condition, for the same price. Let me get this straight here. All 3 pairs of those brand name jeans, Banana Republic, Gap, and Guess, we walked out with for the same price that we were going to pay for 1 pair of jeans at DD's. That was accidental comparison shopping because DD's wouldn't let us use the bathroom. I'm going to stop and grab some of these comments here because they are right on point. Yes, Kawana was like, thrifting, hello, that's how you stay wealthy. Patricia Rice says, in a smart thrift store, yeah, she says she's a smart thrift store buyer. She looks at the designers online while she's at the store, and then she knows when she's seeing designer apparel in the thrift store. That's an excellent idea. Y'all college kids, all races, cultures, backgrounds, thrift. Because their budget is limited, they learn how to thrift. Rochelle says, I used to get my son's name brand clothes from a thrift store. Yeah, he was attending Cassidy, which is a private school here, and she was getting the same brands that those kids were wearing, and he was happy. But she didn't spend all the money that their parents may have spent. Honestly, the Goodwill over by Cassidy near Nichols Hills, let me tell you, if you're in Oklahoma City, I have a friend who I used to work with at the Thunder. Her closet was loaded down with designer apparel for herself, her husband, and her kids. Because here's the other thing. Don't go to a thrift store on a low socioeconomic side of town and then claim that all thrift stores don't have anything. You have to go to the thrift store in the wealthy part of town because the wealthy people are spring cleaning and donating and cleaning up. Hello. That's how you find the good stuff at the thrift store. Patricia also says, I learned about thrift store shopping from officers' wives when she was in the military. Hello. The thrift store is everything. So teach her to comparison shop, whether it's online, whether it's in person, whether it's thrifting. My son is in college and he was so excited. He took some money, went to a thrift store with some friends, found this like major heavy duty like ski jacket. He's in Iowa where it's freezing. I'd already bought him a good coat from the Columbia outlet with the technology I was telling you about. It has something that looks like aluminum foil on the inside, but it's something where it harnesses your own body heat and radiates it throughout the jacket. I don't know, but I'd gotten a good deal because I also bought it in Portland where it's tax free. But he found some snow jacket that he was so excited about, some boots and some khaki pants for like nothing. I think he spent like $30 on all 3 items. Now, you know, you can't normally even get a jacket or a pair of boots for $30 by itself, let alone the heavy jacket, the khaki pants, and the boots that he got for $30. Yes, Kawana says she was just typing it. Go to the good part of town to the thrift store. So teach her how to comparison shop. I'm going to go over those 3 points again, and then I'm going to share some practical tools that you can use to help her learn to manage money as a teenager. So that first tip for making her a money manager, model proper financial behavior for her. Number 2, require her to plan how she's going to both spend and save money. Don't talk to her about budgeting as if it's just a list of don'ts, can't do this. No, it's a plan. It's a plan for how you're going to both spend and save. And then teach her how to comparison shop. In person, walk around to more than one store before you buy something. Online, it's easy to open up all the tabs and jump between the different stores. And then again, you can compare between brand new retail and thrift. So, keep your pads of paper and pens out. These are 4 tips I have, tools that you can use to help her on her money management journey instead of just being a shopaholic. Number 1, see what resources the financial institution that you bank with may have that's specifically for teens. Credit unions have good tools and banks. Also, even some of your credit card companies. I have a credit card and internet checking and savings accounts. That's another tip, and I didn't even charge you for it. Interest rates are higher on internet-based savings and checkings accounts because they don't have to spend the money building brick and mortar banks. And they're not, you might have to take 3 days to transfer your money. You don't have that quickie convenience, so they actually offer better rates. But so I have a credit card and internet savings and checking with Capital One. They actually have a teen debit card with an app that she could put on her phone to help her with her transactions and monitor them. So we have a decision to make. Do we do that one or do we do our local bank? I also bank locally as well. You need to have more than one account because they have different purposes. But research what your own financial institution that you're already banking with may have. Some may have tools that are specifically for teenagers, and others may just be for youth, like anybody under 18. So even your 5-year-old could have an account there. And what is good about opening up using the resources that are for teens and young people, they usually couple those with like an email newsletter with simple tips or a website that they can easily follow and be financially educated on their level. So start with where you already bank individually or as a family and see what tools they may already have. And also the limits are lower. So that as far as what you have to use to open an account because they're a young person, that segues into step number 2. You've got to get your teenager a checking account and a savings account so she can even learn the life skill of managing that. We have checking and savings and piggy banks. You know what we use our piggy banks for? When we spend paper money and we break it, we come home and put all our change in the piggy bank. I took my piggy bank to my bank's coin counter when it was full one time, and there was $17 in there. You never would have guessed that the piggy bank had that much money in it. But if you put more silver than pennies, it can add up. So we use it all. We got piggy banks and we have checking and savings. So you need to open her a checking and a savings account so she can understand the responsibility of having a debit card. And I'm going to tell you, I had a conversation with one of my mentees just 2 days ago. And she didn't understand how a credit card works. She didn't understand the difference between a debit card and a credit card. And that's simply because she wasn't taught. It's not a knock on her. She didn't know until that 10-minute conversation we had in that moment. So I'm glad I was able to share that with her. So if you take your teenager daughter or your mentee and help her open a checking and a savings account, she's starting to learn the life skills, and that's also a tool. So now the next time she gets money, she's not only deciding what to spend and what to save, but there's a place to put it. You're held way more accountable if some of it is in the checking account and some of it is in the savings account, and hook her up with the online banking so she can see what is happening. So open her up an account. You have an account. Why doesn't she need one? Especially if she has a job or you even pay her allowance on a regular basis or she babysits on a regular basis. I don't care if all she gets is $20 a month. Okay, have her save $5. Have her, first of all, have her tithe her $2 if that's what you do. Have her save $5 and then she can spend the rest, whatever 20 minus 7 is. 13? Yeah, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have a whole bunch of money. Some accounts for minors under the age of 18 don't even require a minimum balance. My son's savings account was open when he was in kindergarten because the school had a program where volunteers from the bank came to his school every Tuesday. They didn't care if all he had was a penny that he found on the ground, he could deposit it. And they gave him some little toy every week just for getting in the habit of saving. So don't make it an excuse that your daughter doesn't have enough money to save. Yes, she does. And you have to get her in the habit first. You have to start the mindset so that when you do have more money, you're not stingy and greedy and not even willing to put up money for yourself. So the first tool to help her become a money manager is for you to research the financial tools that are available to educate her at your own financial institution. Then make sure you open a checking and a savings account for her. Number 3, I talked about it a little bit already. Show her how to shop online and comparison shop. I consider that another tool because it's an easy way to do it. They're on their devices all the time anyway. So even if you plan to take her shopping to a physical location, it's still a good resource to have her start online first. Shoot, that'll also save you time. You might go to the mall and she already knows, well, this is the only store I need to go to because this is already the best price. And you do need to make sure that it's that same price in the store physically as well. Because sometimes there are deals that are only available online. If that's the case, then have her buy it online. But you can use online comparison shopping as a tool for even physical shopping. And again, I talked about finding those apps that do the price checking for you. The 4th tip, I shared this already too. Take a pause while you're shopping in person. Like I said, don't just grab everything. Don't have her grab everything at the first store she goes to. You can even, and if you're worried, like if it's on the clearance rack and there's only one of them and you're worried that it might be gone, she will go in the store and tell them, hey, we're going to check out a few other places first, but we'll be back in an hour. They are willing to hold it at the counter, so there's no excuse. Some of them will hold it till closing, but when we go to our little outlet mall down the street from our house, we just tell them, hey, we just got here and they're trying to make sure they get the most for their money, so we're going to check a few other places. Would you please hold these two things? They'll do that. Long as you're coming back the same day, they'll do that. So there's all kind of ways, but I wanted to share some very simple, practical tips for helping her become a money manager and not just a shopaholic. Trust me, I am not anti-shopping. I love shopping, but I make sure that I have planned and prioritized accordingly before I go shopping. So I don't come out having buyer's remorse because I spent too much money, dipped into some money I was supposed to be saving. None of that. I love shopping, but I make sure I'm ready. And I'm going to give you this last thing why prioritizing is so important and why you need her to plan her money. When I take my daughter and my niece school shopping, they get the exact same amount of money. So here's where you need to prioritize and teach them to make decisions around their priorities. My daughter and my niece have two different personalities. So my daughter may go straight to the clearance rack because she would rather have more outfits. So more tops and bottoms that actually go together. She would rather have as many complete outfits as possible for her money. So she is likely to start at the sale rack to see what she can find that she likes and that's her size there first. My niece is different. She doesn't really care about the sale rack. If it's something that she likes, like it doesn't matter to her that there's something that maybe instead of this elaborate pattern, it's solid and you could have two of them on the sale rack. She really wants the shirt with that elaborate pattern, so she buys that. Here's the thing, that's totally fine, but I make it clear to her, you guys started out on an even playing field as far as the amount of money you had. So if I've given each of you $100 and one of you comes out with 3 outfits because of how you budgeted your $100, and the other one, so 3 outfits meaning 6 pieces, and the other one of you comes out with only 2 outfits and a pair of shoes, that's on you. I'm not going to give you extra money because we don't need to balance out. I don't need to give you extra money so that you have 3 complete outfits. You had the same amount of money, but one of you made choices that caused you to come out of the store with fewer outfits. I've done my job giving you equal amounts of money. You then made a decision to buy fewer items for more money. So you need to understand that well. There's no reason for your teen girl to come back to you later and say, well, it's not fair because my sister got 3 outfits and I only got 1 and a pair of shoes. You got 1 outfit and a pair of shoes because that's how you chose to spend the money. So I wanted to be clear about that as well. That's why teaching them to prioritize what's most important to them is so important. So I hope you guys have enjoyed tonight. Share. I know there are plenty of your friends, relatives, mentees, mentors, all the folks that need to hear this same information. Be sure to tune in next Monday night as well at the same time, 7 p.m. Central, 5 Pacific. And yes, I do believe I just saw Delana Monet on here. Maybe was that you, Delana? She teaches a whole teen finances workshop. I had my daughter go to that too. I don't play. If somebody else is offering wisdom, the more the merrier. She don't have to just hear from me all the time. Next week, you don't want to miss that because some of y'all might need the same information. Next week, the topic is, yes, she can own stock. Understand my words. Yes, she can own stock. Your teenage daughter can own stock without you paying money to a high dollar broker of any of that. I'm going to give you some simple tips to get started next Monday night. Have a great evening. You've enjoyed another edition of Monday Night Chats for moms and mentors of teen girls. You're welcome for the tips, and I'll see you next time. Good evening.